This Thursday, I have Paul Brown on the podcast. Paul is a world record holding endurance athlete, single dad, and an award winning beverage expert. We talk about Paul's fitness, his call to change his life, the biped technique, beverages, and his fight against addiction. Look out for Paul's co authored book with Jack Canfield called Pillars of Success, releasing fall 2020, and check out his merch at www.notbadforaboomer.com. Florida, right?
I am. I'm in Clearwater, Florida.
How are things over there?
Okay, the weather's been beautiful. And I think we haven't gotten hit quite as bad as, people were expecting, maybe with all this. I don't know if we've social distanced better than expected or what, but it hasn't been quite as bad as, other parts of the country or other parts of the state even.
Yeah, are you guys back open?
Getting there. So they gave restaurants could open yesterday, and with capacity limits and that, but so starting to get there. They also removed the stay at home restrictions, and the good news for me is my gym opens on Friday, so I am super excited about that.
Oh yeah, I bet. I've been waiting for mine to open up this whole time.
Right? Yeah, it's amazing all the different things I've done, at home trying to work out and go to the park and do things and that. I really have no equipment here at all, so it's used a lot of imagination in that, and but I've been able to stay at it. I'm probably in a little bit better shape today than I was when I entered, this whole thing, which is what I was
Wow.
going for. But I also probably put on a couple pounds. I'm a little bulkier than I was before without spending an hour on the elliptical every day.
Yeah, what have you been having to use?
So, man, I have really light dumbbells, and I've been just doing a large number of reps with those. And it's amazing how I'm a little bit older. I'm 58, so it feels good on my joints and all that to use that. But I've been able, to bulk up. I've put on muscle. I'm definitely, bigger in the chest and arms than I was 6 weeks ago, without putting any strain on them. So it's really been pretty beneficial from that standpoint. But just and then also without doing all the cardio that I normally do, that muscle just stays on you a little bit easier. And then cardio. I'm not a great runner. I played a lot of volleyball growing up, and I have bad knees, and that's kind of what led me to the elliptical in the first place. So I do a little bit of running, try to do some sprints, do calisthenics, like for long periods of time, doing lunges and squats and things like that, and just anything to kind of work up a sweat and get the heart rate up.
Yeah, for sure. How much cardio do you usually do on the elliptical?
So yeah, that's kind of my deal. So I would probably do an hour a day at least 5 times a week, and that's about 8 to 9 miles on the Life Fitness elliptical. And so that's kind of the thing that last year I did 12 hours on it and was gearing up this summer to try to do 24 hours and 135 miles, and gonna have to postpone that. That was planned for 4th of July, but we'll get back in maybe Labor Day or maybe sometime in the fall. But that's one of my goals for the year is to attempt that 24 hours. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, an hour a day is kind of a given. I try to do that almost every day.
Yeah, and that's what your world record is in, right?
That is, yep.
So what exactly is the world record specifically?
So it's for 12 hours. There are different time periods in that. I did it for 12 hours, and it's 73 and a half miles. So
Wow.
was gunning for 93, but couldn't quite do that. I was about halfway there. I was still on pace, but realized that I wasn't going to be able to keep up that pace and finish. And it was more important for me to last the full 12 hours and slow the pace down a little bit. So yeah, so this year it's shooting for 24 hours and 135 miles, and I think I can do it. One of the things I've tried to do in this last 6 weeks when I've been home is bulk up my legs a little bit as well. So been doing a lot of squats and wall squats and things like that because the elliptical is pretty easy as long as you got your legs underneath you. Once those go, then it becomes it's a grueling process. You're putting your whole body into each step with it, and that's where it takes a toll.
Yeah, 12 hours. How do you, I mean, for the 24-hour one that you're preparing for, how do you prepare for that?
Um, so yeah, it's really that every day doing an hour, but then as I was preparing for the 12, then I started to look and see what people were doing for ultra marathons and how they trained for that, how many miles they were doing a week, how they spaced those out. I got to a point with the 12 where I did, I think it was about 5 hours. No, it was 50 miles, 2 days in a row, and that was like the longest thing I did. And the idea behind that is you do the 50 the first day, then you go back the second day, and your legs are pretty shot and you're tired and all that. Well, that's what it's going to feel like, for the second half of it. So that was the longest part. But yeah, it was really, looking at the ultra marathons. I would love to do those, but like I said, my knees are not in great shape anymore, and just feel like that's a little bit beyond me. So the idea with the elliptical is, well, I'm pretty good on the elliptical. Maybe I can, do those same kinds of things on that as people do with these ultra marathons, and that's what kind of got me started.
Yeah, and were you always really into cardio and being athletic, or is that something that you developed recently?
Yeah, athletic, yes, not so much cardio. I was played volleyball, in high school, played all the prerequisite sports, and have worked out off and on my entire life. But as you get older too, you find times where you're not working out, and so I went through a period leading up to the second half of 2018 where I was weighing in at about 224 pounds, hadn't been to the gym for about a year and a half or so, couldn't get myself motivated. If I did go, I'd go one time, and then that'd be it. I couldn't stick to it. And so I had just gotten to a really bad spot, and that's when I started. I made that kind of whole flip in my mindset and thinking, because of other things that were going on in my life. I just knew I needed to get back in the gym. That was going to provide me the balance and make me feel good about that part of my life. And that's what got me started. And just haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, what was your biggest motivation in taking that step?
So, my family was going through an awful lot at that point in time. So this is kind of the thing that kind of set it all off. So, uh, my partner at the time, she dealt with addiction, and we'd been together for about 7 years. And it was kind of an off and on thing where she'd be great for 9 months and then relapse. And the relapses were never good. It wasn't like, oh darn, I relapsed. It was like, kind of all hell breaks loose, and that for a period of time, and then got back to it, and really tried to do everything I could do over that period of time to be supportive and be there for her and get there for my family. So we have a daughter together, and that last half of 2018, especially when we got to December, it just she wasn't safe to be around. She just wasn't safe for me, wasn't safe for the kids, and I had to make a really hard decision to have her removed from the house. And that was tough because now I had a career, still have the career, so I was working every day, and now was going to be a single parent of two kids, ages at that time 5 and 13. So today they're 6 and 14. And so how do you handle that and balance that with everything else going on? And she, since she had relapsed at that time, she kind of drained our accounts of money. And it was, we're a couple weeks before Christmas and a couple weeks before my daughter's fifth birthday. And, you just got to a point where, I said, I've got to do something. I've got to take matters into my own hands and do this for the kids. So had her removed from the house, and I actually called the Department of Children and Families and got them out. And So I invited them into our lives for the next 6 months. And the very next morning, we were down in court testifying, myself and the two kids. They did phenomenal. It was amazing. That kids are so resilient, and we're able to do that. And that was kind of the thing that set it all off. And it took me 3 4 days, 5 days maybe, to kind of bounce back from that, really in a state of shock over all those events. And it took me a little bit to rally, but once I got past that, I just realized I needed to make changes. I needed to step up for the kids. And if I was going to be there and continue to excel at my job, and excel as a single parent, and be there for and be the parent that those kids needed, that I was going to need a whole lot of energy. And so that and I knew a way to do that was to get back into the gym. And so I followed this kind of game plan that I put together. And I call it BiPAD. And it was the first, the B stands for believe, and I just had to believe that things were going to get better for us. And I got to a point where I just I knew they were. I knew that things were about as bad as they were going to get. And I just knew if I put in the work and time and effort, that we were going to be fine. We were going to be okay, and we'd be good together. And so that was step number one.
Yeah. So what exactly is this formula that you put together for this biped?
Yeah. So first is I firmly believe you've got to believe that things, believe in yourself, believe whatever it is you're going to be doing, that you can accomplish it. That you've got to have that self confidence and belief in yourself. And once you do, then you can kind of move on to that next stage. And then the next stage is imagine, and that's where you kind of like create that future, create your life, kind of have fun, and sit down and imagine what you want your life to be. And that's exactly what I did. So within a week of having all that go on, I got to a point where I believed things were going to get better. I knew they had to, and I knew I was going to take the steps necessary to make them happen. So the next was like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want my life to look like in 6 months, and in a year, and 3 years from now? So set about to put those ideas in place. And once I kind of came up with that, I wasn't 100% certain at the time, so I really didn't over index on what those were. They were kind of small steps along the way. But and then the next thing was to put the planning in place. Okay, this is where I want to get to. This is where I believe I can get to. How do I do that? And kind of map out some of those things. And then the next thing is for activate. You got to put in the work. You got to put in that time. And then the last one is deliver. So, the first thing I knew I could do was to get to the gym. And I believed I knew I could, make a difference. I knew I could get down from my 224 pounds that I had grown into, and get back at it, and feel good about myself, and make some changes and have more energy. And so, I imagined myself, 6 months, a year later, at, a lower weight, and feeling much better about myself physically, and having energy and all that. And got back into the gym and stuck at it. And it was probably 3 4 months after that I had the idea, after I'm doing the elliptical, like, hey, I can do something more on this elliptical. But the amazing thing that happened, and I wouldn't say this is necessarily going to happen every time you go through this process, or going to happen for everyone, but the changes that started to happen, just almost immediately. And it was just kept showing me that I was on the right path. And kind of as I had these smaller goals that I'm able to check off and see, like, wow, I'm doing this. This is happening. This was one of those things I wanted to happen in the next year. And within a month, it's already happened, so it kind of lets you build up momentum in that. But it wasn't, with a week later that I'm taking some time off for the holidays. I was on the elliptical, and I got a phone message, and I didn't know who it was from, and I decided I was going to listen to it while I'm on the elliptical. And it was from a magazine in my industry, and they were calling to tell me that I'm a beverage director for a restaurant company, that our beverage program had won the National Beverage Program of the Year. And they wanted me to get with them in the next month. They wanted to send a cameraman down to take pictures. They wanted me on the cover of their magazine, and had no idea this was coming. I mean, totally out of the blue. And I'm on the elliptical, when it happens, and I'm like, wow, this is good. This is things are starting to happen and fall into place, and I'm making smart decisions, doing the right things, and already starting to be rewarded from it. And not 2 days later, I'm back on the elliptical, and I get a text message from another industry source called Vibe. It's a group of beverage professionals. It stands for Very Important Beverage Executives, which is kind of a strange name, but anyways, they're one of the like kind of governing bodies of the beverage industry, and they texted me that I had won 2 awards. The program had won 2 awards, one for the best limited time offer throughout the year, and another one for the best NA beverage program for the year. And again, I'm on the elliptical, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, here I am doing the right things for myself, physically, and I'm getting all this, feedback and rewards that I never saw coming. So that really helped me to feel like I was on the right path and give me um, more impetus to just to stay at it. And already, I'm starting to feel a whole lot better about myself than I did, a week to 10 days earlier.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a magical elliptical.
that that was pretty much it. And it wasn't lost on me that both times, like, I got those announcements, within a week. I was
Yeah.
on the elliptical when they came in, and it was like, there's something here, and I don't know what it is, or but I'm like, this is a good thing. I'm going to keep at this elliptical. So I was only doing 20-30 minutes at a time at that point. I wasn't any elliptical hero or anything. I'm sweating, in there to get a couple miles done on it, and getting tired at the end, and all that stuff. But I kept at it, and I did other, I lifted some and did some hit stuff, and started expanding what I was doing, and started to finally then see some changes, and my weight's starting to drop and all that. And as I would get on the elliptical, it was such a just a great time for me to think, as I was able to start doing it longer. And I went from 20 to 30 minutes to 45, and then an hour, and I was stuck at an hour for a long time, and I was like, I wonder if I can do an hour and a half. And so one day I was able to do that, and then I thought, yeah, I wonder how far I could just go. And I was listening to a lot of motivational people at the time too, and that's kind of helped me along with that whole process. Listen to a lot of stuff on YouTube, and just um, I've got a list of half a dozen to 6 to 10 people that I listen to regularly, and I still do today. And just got me thinking about that idea of what's the limits out there, what can you do. And so that's what got me to the point of thinking, I wonder if I can do 12 hours and set this world record.
Yeah, who's like one of the best motivational people that you listen to?
Yeah, the guy that really got me going, and still today is the one that I probably give the most credit, for helping me along through this whole thing, was David Goggins. Ex Navy SEAL,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
ultra
yeah, yeah.
ultra athlete, and that. And it's so funny because I heard just a little clip, this was before any of this happened. I started listening to this stuff in like the fall of 2018, and he was on a clip, just a small clip of him amongst a lot of other motivational speakers. It was something to listen to when you wake up in the morning, and it was a Sunday morning, and I heard him say a couple things. I was like, man, who is that wild man? I was like, well, the rest of these guys are pretty good, but I don't know if I want to listen to anything he's saying. And I would hear him, sometime, another time, and I didn't even know what his name was at the time. And finally, it was probably a month later. I was like, who was that guy? I got to find out more about him. He just kind of stuck with me. And so I looked him up and was able to find his name, and learn more about him, and started watching some other podcasts and that he was on, um, and then read his book. And so definitely hooked after all that stuff. And he's definitely the one that gave me the idea that you can always do a whole lot more than you think you can. And do something every day you might not want to do. I think he calls it, do something that sucks every day. And that the results will definitely be there for you, and they have been. So he's definitely one of the ones.
You said you're a beverage professional, right? What exactly is that?
So I'm a beverage director for a restaurant company,
Okay.
and so I create cocktails. I'm a mixologist. Have a background in beer, especially craft beer, and so I make all of our decisions on beer, liquor, and wine that go into our restaurants across the country. and also our NA beverages, which are really fun and really all the work of a great mixed drink, mixed cocktail without the alcohol in it. So, been with the company for about 9 years now, and yeah, just super happy with the position and the industry, and tough times right now for the hospitality industry, but um, things will get open back up again, and we're excited to get all of our restaurants open out there and have people coming back in and enjoying it.
Yeah, and what are some of your drinks and where can we find them?
So yeah, I work for the Melty Pot restaurants. So there's about 100 locations, a little over 100 locations across the country. So some of the drinks that we do there, we do the Love Martini is a one of those iconic melting pot cocktails, and Sunshine Sangria. I have a program called Best in Glass, which is one of the things I was won the award for, and it's cocktails that are all classic takes on classic cocktails. I call them simple. Let's see. Let me think of the pillars here of them. Clean, enhanced, fresh, and simple. So um, things like an original Mai Tai and a fantastic old fashioned and things of that nature. Really great takes on the classic cocktails.
I see. And so you said you got a you were nominated or you got a Vibe award?
Yeah, so won several of them now. Won two of them that just that past year when they let me know that when I was on on the elliptical. So been nominated probably half a dozen times or so, and won three or four of them now. And then winning the Cheers magazine was the magazine that put me on the cover and called our beverage program the beverage program of the year. So that was pretty exciting, and felt wonderful to win an award like that, especially coming off a really tough year. So it was yeah, very rewarding.
I see. And then I checked out your Twitter, right? And it says it was like anti opioid addiction. Is that
Mhm.
from your wife?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. So started with that a few years ago, and just really wanted to do something. So it's called Americans Against Opioid Addiction, and wanted to do something to pass on information out there to people that might be struggling with it or had relatives knew someone that was struggling with it, and try to pass on information that could help them or what was going on with the struggle and the fight against that. So it's been really, again, very rewarding me to be able to put out that information. I'm connected with all the top minds in that industry, professors at Harvard and, just really great, smart people that, are thinking about that battle every day. And then also just lots of resources for people that might be battling with that and might need somewhere to go in their local area. So I've got a Facebook page with that, and then also Twitter.
I see. And what are some of the things that these professors or whatever think can be an alternative to opioids or stop opioid addiction?
Yeah, so it's interesting because there's a lot of information out there ab- about some of these things where there's a lot of negative information, but truly, what I think, the kind of the gold standards for treatment these days are the medication assisted treatment, and some I know some people are against that, but I'm really wholeheartedly for it, and it's people that are on opioids. It's a medication, either methadone or Suboxone, that they take that helps them, get off the opioids. They are both of those are opioids, so that's where a little bit of the I think the thought like, oh well, the person isn't really clean if they're still on that. Yeah, they're clean because they're not getting high from those things. It allows them to manage that, and it's just such a difficult problem. And I saw it firsthand for several years, and saw the struggles of someone that really trying to fight that, and how much the difficulty that they had trying to get off them, and had all the right reasons to do it, and still couldn't quite manage to do it. So I'm actually working on a project right now with a small team of people to come up with a beverage that will help people that are in recovery. And the name is Recoverment, and we're probably 3 months out from launching, maybe 6 months, somewhere in there. But we've got a finalized product, and now looking to just to take it to get to market. But the idea is that it's going to help people that are in this in recovery and on this medicated assisted treatment, feel better about it, and have their body feel better about what they're doing. So the idea is to help them stay into recovery, because so often people will be in recovery for a while and drop out. And the um, both of these treatments that are truly the gold standard out there, they still have things that will impact your body. Their medications, they have side effects. They have an impact on people, and so we're trying to mitigate those as best we can with a formulation. So pretty excited about that, and haven't talked a whole lot about that yet. But that's been a couple years in the making, and we're just to the point now of getting it to market, hopefully this year.
Yeah, it's such an awesome way to blend like your passion and your career into developing a product to help this.
Absolutely, and we've got such a great team, such a smart team. The person doing all the nutritional formulation in that, he's got a PhD from University of Southern California. We've got a great gentleman that doing the flavoring that did the flavor profile for Crystal Light back in the day, so he's making it taste great. Um, Another partner that's involved with the packaging, and the other facet of this is it's going to be like a little energy 2.5 ounce shot type thing, with the idea that people would take these daily and would give them vitamins, nutritional, makeup that they need to help stay in recovery and fight that off. And it's also going to have an augmented reality message to it. So each day the message will change, and hopefully, be an uplifting message for someone that's taking that, and try to keep them on the right path.
That's awesome. Do you see that as only being for people that need recovery, or do you think that can be a drink that anybody can have?
I think anyone. I've had it myself now, and I do, since I work out so much. I do a lot of different supplements and pre workouts and that. And this has got a really great profile of different vitamins, minerals. Vitamin D. Now with COVID going on, and that's one of the things that's really talked about in helping the immune system is more vitamin D. The people that are vitamin D deficient seem to have more problems with their immune system. So I think anyone could take this. The other thing it has is a traditional Chinese medicine that's been used over in China for years by their medical doctors to treat addiction. So the idea is not, though, to use this alone. It's to use it in conjunction with the medicated treatment out there.
Awesome. And then do you want to talk a little bit about your book coming out this summer, right?
It is. So yeah, so I'm have the pleasure of co-authoring a book with Jack Canfield. And for anyone that's not familiar with Jack Canfield, he's the gentleman that wrote all those chicken soup books. So the chicken soup for the soul, and just an amazing gentleman. And I love the story behind him, and that series of books where he presented it to 140 different publishers before he finally found someone to take it. And now they've sold millions upon millions of copies of that book. I forget what the number is, but it's amazing, and how many languages it's published in, and that. And so you know, many times over a best-selling author. So he has a book coming out called Pillars of Success, and I was able to write a portion of that, and my portion is called from broken to boundless, a year of believing in the unbelievable. And that kind of sums up the year from where it started in that middle of December 2018 to what I was able to accomplish that year with awards, and being able to get myself and my family stable. Got full custody of the kids 6 months later. I'm big, huge proponent of the folks at Department of Children and Families. There's so many bad things you hear about those folks in other states and that. And, maybe some of that is true, but I can tell you I had nothing but the best experience with them. They're a huge support line for us, and even the court system as well. We had to go through the whole court process, and I never had an attorney. Never felt it was necessary. And within 6 months, had full custody of the kids. And then within 8 months, had set the record for on the elliptical, and things just keep moving forward. And even during this time now of um, you know COVID-19 and the virus and that, I haven't let that slow me down. It's so much of it is mindset, and my mindset flipped in the middle of December of 2018, and it hasn't flipped back. And I'm just it's all about moving forward. I went into this idea with the virus that I was going to come out of it in better shape and move forward in my life. It come out of it better than I went in, and sure enough, that's definitely happening as we've been able to move forward with a couple of the side projects I'm working on. The book has gotten closer. Feel better physically, even though I've been missing my elliptical. I've been able to do a lot of other stuff physically, and a lot of other workouts. It's probably made me a little bit more well-rounded. But yeah, back to the initial thing. Pillars of Success. Jack Canfield book will be out sometime this summer.
I see. And then do you incorporate the biped formula in your part?
Yeah, definitely do. So talk about the story and what happened, and then talk about the formula as well, and how that really walked me through every step of it, and kind of developed that formula as I was going through it. And it was just amazing. And going, I use it time and again now, and going through this with the COVID. I just being in the hospitality industry, is one of the worst industries you could be in, with this going on. And I've only looked at this as a completely an opportunity to take some time, and whether it be reconnect with the family, devote time to other things, to writing more books, to working out harder or better or differently. It's just it's really about a mindset, and I feel so strongly about that.
Yeah. Between like creating beverages, your fitness, the fighting opioid addiction, the book, how do you find time? Like how do you manage this?
And being a single parent too, right?
Yeah, oh, a single parent, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because people, and I was the same way. I used to always talk about, oh, there's not enough time. I don't have time for this. And there's some great things on YouTube, and that, like Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about time, and how it's such an issue, and how there's 24 hours a day in a day. And it's just though it seems like the people that are successful have a better way to manage those 24 hours. So I get about 6 hours of sleep a night, which is about normal. But try to make the most of my time. I fit time in to work out every day. My kids, especially, being home with them now and helping them with the distance learning, that's a huge, part of my day. But there's time for everything. You just have to balance it. I don't. I'm a big sports fanatic, watching sports on TV. So that's something that's probably freed me up a little bit during this time for that. But um, yeah, don't ever let yourself get away with that excuse. There's not enough time in the day, because there's plenty of time. You just have to use it wisely, and put it to the things that you really want to focus on in your life.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome talking to you, Paul. Do you have any final words?
No. If anyone wants to follow me on the Instagram, it's pbfit at 50. So it's pbfitat50. Got a fun Instagram page there. Got some other fun stuff going on. I think I'm going to be the oldest streetwear ambassador ever, as I've got a ambassadorship now with a streetwear company, and also with I'm a Michelob Ultra athlete. So talk more about the athletic stuff on there, and keep posting about that. And that's one of the things that has also really saved me, and will from this point on always be a part of my life. So, but the one thing is, no matter what you're facing, if you can believe in yourself and believe in your ability to get past it, you can do it. And I was in a really tough situation where there were a lot of cards stacked against me and my family, and we followed that formula and came through it better than ever.